Hello, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Big Share Live. It's just after 1 o'clock, and my name is Stacy Harbaugh. I'm the Communications Director for River Alliance of Wisconsin, and I'm here to welcome you back. Maybe you've taken a break for lunch, but I don't know if you've seen the latest totals that Community Shares of Wisconsin member groups have raised, but we are at over $345,000 already today, which is incredible, and we are well on our way to, and it keeps spinning, the totals keep spinning all day. We are well on our way to hopefully raise over $500,000 for the Big Share. So if you've already given, we really appreciate your gifts so far and your donations to one of or more than one of 70 member nonprofits for Community Shares of Wisconsin. If you haven't given yet, now's the time to do it. There are so many groups that also have fundraising challenges happening today, so you might even have your donations matched or tripled. But please feel free to go through thebigshare.org, look at all the organizations that are participating today, and find a cause that you really care about. So we just heard from Hetty and Helen, who had a great conversation about sustainable food and healthy food in our community, and they represent just a few of the organizations that are participating today. You're definitely going to find a cause that you care about and find a very easy way to give. We're going to break away in a little bit. We're going to tune in to an affordable housing roundtable to hear from member organizations from Community Shares to talk about how they're making housing and advocating for housing that's more equitable and affordable in our community. So stay tuned for that. And then after the Affordable Housing Roundtable, we're going to have some live music with a friend of mine. So I hope you stay tuned for that as well. So please keep giving at thebigshare.org. Please keep checking in on the grand total of fundraising that we have going on so far. And we will be back shortly. We're going to interrupt the program to announce the next Power Hour winner. So stay tuned for that.
Before about how I wanted to learn more about your organizations, and I'm happy to help bring that across to the viewers today through the Big Share Live and through our live socials, and then all the times this video gets circulated after the fact so we can get the word out about our great organizations. We'll go around the whole area here and let everyone introduce themselves, and then we'll start telling you more about the work we do. Again, my name is Jason Hafman. I'm the Outreach Manager here at Project Home. We're a local nonprofit based in Madison, Wisconsin. Alexis, would you like to start after me?
Sure. Hi. Thank you, Jason, for putting this together. I'm Alexis London. I'm the Executive Director at Bayview Foundation. We're an affordable housing development here near downtown Madison. My background is in education and art, and I've been working at nonprofits in Madison for about 20 years. Really excited to be here to talk about the importance of affordable housing and to share more about Bayview.
I'm just going to follow my screen. Erica, you're up next.
Hello, I'm Erica Sanders. I'm a Director of Program Services, and I'm with the Fair Housing Center of Greater Madison. And I am just delighted to be here with so many people whose work I respect and are part of just this thriving nonprofit environment working on housing in Dane County. So thank you.
Heidi is here from Legal Action. Heidi?
Thanks, Jason. I'm Heidi Wegleitner. I am a housing attorney at Legal Action of Wisconsin in our Madison office. Legal Action is the largest nonprofit civil legal aid provider in Wisconsin, and we work a lot on housing issues, and it's really great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Great to have you. Justice, you're up, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Justice Castaneda from Commonwealth Development, Community Development Organization here in Madison.
And next, Olivia.
Hi, I'm Olivia Williams, the Executive Director of Madison Area Community Land Trust, and we focus on permanently affordable homeownership opportunities for low-income people. Thanks.
All right. We heard Olivia. She looks a little frozen, but hopefully the connection hangs in there. Robin is with the Tenant Resource Center. Robin.
Hello, Robin Serino. I'm the Executive Director at the Tenant Resource Center, and we're a Dane County-based organization that provides information education on rental rights and responsibilities. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about to hear from everyone.
And Brad.
Thanks, Jason. My name is Brad Hinkpiss. I'm the Executive Director of Housing Initiatives. We are a pretty big provider of permanent affordable housing. It's housing for people who are all formerly homeless and who also have long-term severe mental health issues. Glad to be here. Thanks.
Perfect. I'll give a quick synopsis of some of the work at Project Home, and then kind of everyone will be able to tell a little bit of their stories as we talk about our work. So Project Home, we're focused on three main areas, which are really including home repairs, accessibility modifications, and then energy efficiency upgrades. And it's been vitally important as we try to keep people in their homes, try to allow housing to be more affordable for them. But our big goals are always health and safety related. So it's not the flashy, exciting remodeling or home upgrades you think of, but they're vitally important to making people's houses safe for them and sustainable and affordable. And that's what we do here at Project Home. We've been in existence just over 50 years. Alexis, go back to you.
Sorry, muted there. Bayview's been around for about 50 years too. We're celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. And Bayview provides affordable housing. We have a Section 8 contract. We currently have 102 affordable units on our property, which is located at the corner of West Wash and Regent Street. We primarily house families, but we currently don't have any one-bedroom units, but that will change. We're in the process of a massive redevelopment of our site. And over the next 3 years, all of the current housing will come down and new housing will come up. As well as a brand new community center. So part of what makes Bayview so successful is there's a service facility located in the heart of the development. So all of the apartments surround the community center, and the residents who live here, there are about 300 residents who live at Bayview. They are within steps from various social services like free after school, free language access programs, financial literacy programs, food pantry access, healthcare support, navigation. So lots of different services that Bayview offers. And that model will continue with the redevelopment. And the community center will be twice the size of the current one. So I think we'll be able to provide more services to more people, house more people. So we're really excited about the future of Bayview. So thank you.
Yeah, I was looking at your website. It sounds like an exciting time right now. So that's fantastic. Erica in Fair Housing, what's happening with Fair Housing?
Sure. So the Fair Housing Center is a civil rights enforcement agency. So we enforce all the laws that prohibit housing discrimination when someone's trying to rent a home or is in tenancy, trying to get a home loan or homeowner's insurance, even appraisal or things of that nature. Our mission is really straightforward. We work to combat illegal housing discrimination and to help create and maintain racially and economically integrated living situations. It's our position at the Fair Housing Center that it's illegal housing discrimination that's one of the major drivers of the way we're segregated in this day and age. We take complaints from people who feel like they've experienced discrimination based on a factor like race or disability or because they have children. In many cases, we investigate those allegations on behalf of our clients to gather evidence that they can use when seeking out a legal remedy. And that can be the next step we help with. We help people file complaints with government agencies, like here in Madison, the Department of Civil Rights, at the state, the Wisconsin Equal Rights Division, and so forth. We can also refer people to attorneys if they wish to file lawsuits in state or federal court. And we do a ton of education and outreach to both housing consumers and housing providers alike. And One of the things I would say about our agency is that we really complement but don't duplicate a lot of the other work these great housing groups do. So we focus exclusively on the issue of discrimination. We don't work on issues of landlord-tenant rights, for instance, or financial assistance or affordable housing. We love to work closely with places like the Tenant Resource Center, like Legal Action, like Project Home. We refer many clients to you who have needs that you can meet, and we often get referrals from you. So that's one of the things I love about Community Shares, is that it really brings groups together who are working on housing problems from so many different angles. And the Big Share is a great day to celebrate that and to really lift that up.
Thank you, Erica. It sounds like some great work. Heidi, at Legal Action, tell us a little bit more about some of the things you're working on there.
Sure. So Legal Action is
And I apologize for interrupting that wonderful conversation about affordable housing, but we do have some breaking news about some Power Hour winners. CUNA Mutual sponsored our noon Power Hour as well as the 10 o'clock this morning. Thank you so much, CUNA Mutual. In this last hour, 2 organizations rose to the top in terms of fundraising. Clean Wisconsin raised the most dollars, and the Wisconsin Women's Network got the most people to give. So congratulations to Clean Wisconsin and the Wisconsin Women's Network. I believe that we have Ellen on to accept the Power Hour Award from CUNA Mutual. CUNA's not with us today, but hopefully we can see Ellen on Zoom. I'd love to chat with her if she's on. Hello, congratulations for winning the Power Hour.
Hi, thank you so much. We're so excited.
What was your strategy for getting people to give at this time?
We really just pushed the social media, really tried to we've been sharing stories of how the Women's Network has really impacted people and really trying to encourage even just small donations during this time.
That's perfect. So tell us a little bit about what the Wisconsin Women's Network does.
Yes, so we are currently completely run by volunteers, and we really try to work on equity and equality for women across the state of Wisconsin. And we do that by a couple of our main programs. So one is the Policy Training Institute, where it's a nonpartisan big training session or multiple sessions helping women learn how to advocate with their elected officials and advocate for policies that really impact women across the state. And then we also have the mentorship program that connects young women just kind of coming into their careers and in college to women who maybe have been in the field for a while, who can help support them. And, it's really all about building networks and support and helping women reach their highest potential by women supporting other women.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much for all that you do and for your important mission in inspiring women's leadership. We really appreciate it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, thanks again to CUNA Mutual for sponsoring this Power Hour. We're going to head back to the panel in just a second. These are all the groups that are the kinds of groups that you can support today during the Big Share. Oh, we have Clean Wisconsin on too. Luke, are you there? Hey, congratulations for winning the Power Hour. You raised the most dollars this last hour. How does it feel?
It feels great. We really can't do this work without supporters like everyone who came out today and donated to our cause. And our mission today was based around PFAS, forever chemicals that are per and polyfluoroalkene substances that are being found in Dane County and really all over this state. And we're working hard to lead the way on advocating for meaningful standards and comprehensive testing and cleanup of these chemicals. And it's clearly important to communities around the state, and we thank everybody that came out and supported us today.
That's fantastic. What was your strategy for raising money in this hour?
Well, I think this is an important issue to a lot of people in the Dane County area and across the state. And people came out and supported us. So that's great news.
Well, that's fantastic news. Congratulations. And also from our team at the River Alliance, thank you so much for all that you do, especially on this important topic. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Well, thanks again for CUNA Mutual for sponsoring this past Power Hour. Like I said, we're going to head back to the Affordable Housing Roundtable to show you how these groups work together. These are the kinds of organizations that you can support today during the Big Share.
Prevention and education, really seeking housing justice through our advocacy, through our education, and really centering community partnerships. We have folks that we call housing counselors who do, are here for walk-ins and available. Again, similar to legal action, all the services are free for folks needing them. And that can range from tenants to landlords to service providers to pretty much anybody that wants to engage with us and has a question around rental rights. So we have those housing counseling services, and we staff an office here on Willie Street. We have community offices and then also a campus office for UW students. We also obviously do community outreach and education pieces. A unique piece about, I think, the Tenant Resource Center coming in, I've been here about 3 years now, are the housing law seminars that we hold. And those are series for landlords and service providers throughout Wisconsin. Just for folks, there's a lot of questions. It's a small area of law with a lot of questions on it. Additionally, this year, and throughout the pandemic, we've really risen to do some extraordinary work that we're really proud of. Opening the Eviction Diversion and Defense Partnership. Legal Action is one of our partners on that, and now being able to provide, additional free legal services regardless of immigration status to any tenant facing eviction in Dane County is really an accomplishment for us. I think really, as we make that, bold statement that we're dedicated to housing justice for all, what that looks like. And I think it's partnerships like this that make that happen.
Thank you, Robin. I think, too, it's being proven the 70s was a pretty good time. A lot of good action taken in the 70s. Brad, how about you and Housing Initiatives? Tell us a little bit more about the work you do. Your mic is muted, Brad. Sorry.
I thought I'd clicked on that. Thanks.
There we go.
It's great to be here with some other organizations that we regularly kind of brush elbows with and are very sympathetic to in lots of ways. Housing Initiatives has been around for 28 years, and it started with close links and maintains those links with the mental health field. The idea being that people who are struggling with long-term mental illnesses are oftentimes some of the most vulnerable in our community. We have stayed very much in that position, growing incrementally over the years. Today, we've got 33 properties, 151 units. We use a neighborhood integrated model for our housing. So it's all smaller stuff scattered around the entire city of Madison. And where we're positioned within the community as far as affordable housing is concerned is we provide what's called permanent supportive housing. So we work with the coordinated entry system. That coordinated entry kind of figures out who the most vulnerable people are in our community. We draw from that and we meet people where they're at. People who we house are literally homeless the day before. We house them. They pay only 30% of income for rent. If they have no income, then they don't need to pay any rent whatsoever. The idea is that it could be places where people live for the rest of their lives. Sometimes they do exactly that. Sometimes they move on to other locations. No services are mandatory, but we surround them. We've got 4 full-time supportive service staff. We try to surround them with help wherever they need, whatever they may need. Lots and lots of success stories for people who really reintegrate with the neighborhood, rebuild their lives from wherever they're coming from. And that could be all sorts of different histories that led to their homelessness. There is that common denominator of some sort of mental illness that's in there, but all of our folks are capable of living independently, and they do so marvelously and do well in a more neighborhood and community integrated level. So that's what we do. Those 151 units, we're supporting about 220 people these days. So thanks.
Thank you, Brad. Olivia, let's give it a shot here and see how your connection is and hear more about Madison Area Community Land Trust, please.
Yeah, thanks. Hoping it works a little better this time, and so inspired by the work that all of you are doing. So really happy to be here. We're one of the younger orgs of this group, being about 30 years old. But we operate as a community land trust, which is not too dissimilar from like a conservation land trust in that we use ground leases to preserve affordability of urban land in the Madison area for community use. So we have homes all over Madison that are permanently affordable, holding and preserving that land under 70 houses, as well as 5 acres of urban farm and 15 acres of restored prairie, and the community garden plots at Troy Gardens. But our primary programming these days is affordable homeownership. So the way that works is the homeowner buys the house on the land, and we own the land, and then maintain its affordability through multiple generations of homeowners with a ground lease. So some of our homes have resold within our program 4 or 5 times, meaning we've provided that affordable homeownership opportunity to 5 families with that initial subsidy. So it's a shared equity homeownership program in that way, where people are agreeing to pay it forward. They get a portion of the appreciation of the home, but what's important to us in this kind of model is how the land stays affordable so that neighborhoods can maintain some affordable housing as prices are skyrocketing. And average prices of homes right now in Madison are over $340,000. So we recently added a home to the portfolio that sold for $165,000 when its market value was $295,000. So that home buyer saved $130,000 on their home. And we're just really excited to see how that went through. And we've been increasing our services to our existing residents in our program, and have been able to distribute maintenance funds to homeowners who are still low income in our program to make sure they have access to things they need, and we're good stewards of the properties, and that those homes stay in good condition.
Wow. Thank you, Olivia. That's impactful work. So great to learn more about each group so far. I do want to kind of keep things moving around. There's some really important issues, of course, that we could delve into a little further, but I want to pick up the pace just to touch on this next one. And I want to go around and hear from each of you one of your biggest issues or challenges right now for your organization. So one of the biggest issues you're working on, or one of the biggest challenges right now that you're trying to address. Alexis, let's start with you.
So many challenges. The pandemic really just kind of highlighted lots of different issues for so many people living in our community who are living in poverty or who are housing insecure. In Bayview, though, we're subsidized at 30%. People are subsidized at 30% of their income. They were still hit hard. About 30% of our residents lost their employment or lost wages during the pandemic. Bayview provided virtual school support, and we saw initially only about 15% of the children who live here attending regular school. As soon as we started to provide support in our building in the community center, we saw that number jump to 85%, but it just highlighted the disparity of the digital divide and how Wi-Fi access is crucial to families, especially families living in poverty, and high bandwidth is really essential. Food access was another huge issue that came up during the pandemic. We're still seeing the impact of people losing their jobs or losing wages. And so we have developed a really robust food access program here at the community center that serves Bayview residents as well as other residents on the Triangle. All of those things are informing like what we're doing with the new community center and the spaces that we're developing. We're putting in a campus-wide Wi-Fi network, a high-speed Wi-Fi network. The Wi-Fi will be free to residents, and it will be at 50 upload-download speed, so relatively fast. People will have the option of increasing that to 100. That was a ton of work just to get the resources to do that, to find the right partners to do that. But that was just a lesson learned from the pandemic that we feel is really crucial. So those are just some of the issues that we're dealing with. We're also dealing with rising construction costs. Bayview's undertaking a $52 million redevelopment project right now. And every day I'm seeing price increases on windows, on roof, on siding materials. And so having to evaluate those issues against like our energy efficiency goals and wanting to create really healthy homes for people and lower their energy bills. So just really kind of considering all of those factors in the decisions that we're making, because these are people's homes. We want them to feel an immense amount of pride and enjoyment and health and safety when they're in them. And we're trying really hard not to cut any corners, even though we're seeing these rising construction costs almost at 15 to 30% higher than what we had originally planned. So anyway, those are some of the smaller pandemic related, they're all somewhat pandemic related issues that we're encountering right now every day.
I didn't want to throw people off. If the bear over my shoulder is causing any problems, let me know. I'll talk to him. Let me just jump in quick with just one big thing at Project Home, and then we'll kind of continue on. But the biggest thing for us is the aging population and trying to allow and modify homes so they can stay safely there. We all know the incredible cost for trying to move out of your home into some sort of facility. We're trying to assist people in so many ways, but really it's just how can they stay where they're comfortable and still be safe and healthy in that process. And so that's our biggest challenge right now. And we're doing everything we can, including, working on more than 400 homes every year, trying to make those upgrades around the county and around Greene County. So Erica, what's a big issue or challenge that you're working on?
I'll take a cue from Alexis and talk about the pandemic and some things that have been going on in this time period. I mean, illegal housing discrimination is endemic and it's continued throughout the pandemic, but we've also seen a few distinct trends. First, sexual harassment in housing has markedly increased during the pandemic as tenants have lost income or lost their jobs altogether and become more financially vulnerable. Housing providers sometimes prey on those tenants and say things like, well, I'll let you pay your rent late this month in exchange for sending me nude photos or in exchange for sexual favors. And that's of deep concern to us and something that we can address using fair housing laws. The other trend I'd mention, two really. One has to do with the increase in hate crimes and hate incidents in housing situations. That trend had begun prior to the pandemic, but has grown worse during the pandemic. I'm sure we're all aware that Asian residents of our state have faced horrible hate incidents, threats, property damage, physical assaults. And according to the FBI, the single most common place hate incidents take place is at or near someone's place of residence, right? The very place we should feel most safe, most secure. But we can take fair housing complaints that involve those sorts of incidents and help people protect their rights in that way. And then finally, as we've all seen this sort of crescendo of an eviction crisis spread across the country, some of those evictions are discriminatory in and of themselves. Sometimes those evictions are happening based on someone's race or national origin, and housing providers are taking advantage of this really uncertain time we're in to evict some tenants but not others based on legally protected characteristics. So those are all things that we're working to address during this strange time we've been in.
Heidi, at Legal Action, what's one of the biggest challenges right now or one of the biggest common issues you're seeing?
Yeah, well, just kind of following up on what Erica mentioned, the harm that lasts from just the filing of an eviction case against someone really can result in them being denied housing indefinitely. And so in Wisconsin, in most private rental housing, you don't have a right to be renewed. You don't have any additional bar that a landlord needs to meet to end a tenancy. Of course, it can't be illegal discrimination, but it can be challenging for folks to be able to prove that or enforce those rights to not be discriminated against. So it's really good that the Fair Housing Center exists. But we are helping people eliminate those eviction record barriers to getting future housing. So, just because an eviction is filed against someone, it can be filed for all sorts of different reasons. And of course, even with some eviction moratoriums that occurred during the pandemic, many evictions have been filed. Thousands of evictions have been filed. By and large, the eviction moratoriums did not stop the filings. And so once that's filed, it's out there for all future landlords to see. And it results in people getting applications rejected. So you might have somebody who, receives a notice of non-renewal from their landlord, and the landlord doesn't, have to tell them necessarily why they're non-renewing them, or they won't tell them why. And here, even though they haven't done anything wrong, they're trying to find housing now with a new landlord. They can't get out. It might be dangerous for them. They may not have any other option. And an eviction gets filed. And then it makes it impossible for them to move because, that future landlord is going to see their name on that record. So when we are helping folks, defend evictions, but we're also helping folks remove their name from that court record so that they can actually have a decent shot at getting housing in the future. Unfortunately, right now, state law prevents, a county or a state from trying to protect people from discrimination based on court records. So it's kind of a approach that we take with our individual clients right now in terms of removing those barriers for them. So we know how eviction impacts communities disproportionately based on race. So removing these records is really key to people being able to just get housing again. I think non-renewals are another issue related to that, where people are having often moving out because they're so afraid of that eviction record. They know what it means for them. They don't want to wait and have something filed against them and have that barrier out there. People are moving without anywhere else to go. And it might be that they had more protection from non-renewal, or the non-renewal was unlawful based on it receiving, the place being federally subsidized and having additional requirements like good cause protection. Or it could have been unlawful retaliation or illegal discrimination. But because of that eviction record, they're being forced to move out. They may not have access to an attorney to help, defend against eviction or prosecute a fair housing complaint. And then there's all these barriers that are set up against them. So I think non-renewals and eviction record barriers are something that where a lawyer can make a difference. And that's why providing equal access to justice and free civil legal aid is really vital to advancing housing justice.
Justice, what about you? What's a big issue or challenge right now?
I should just say that a lot of these things, the confluence of a lot of what folks are saying. I mean, we experience it. I think, I don't know how else to say this, but there's inherent contradictions in our understanding of the concept of affordable housing that I think we come up with. I would say that ideology without a banister is one of our biggest challenges. But what I mean by that, disaggregated, is saying you support affordable housing is a very convenient space to sit. It's very cavalier. It's kind of like saying I'm for puppies or like I'm for education. But when you start disaggregating what that means and what it actually takes to create housing, I always, we hear, we have kind of a little mini think tank here. It's really great. I'm really fortunate. I work with some amazing people, which is, it's so helpful to be around the folks that work at Commonwealth Development. But when we talk about this, we repatriate or we take back the concept of low income, right? And I own that term because I'm talking about people who are earning in the bottom 3 quintiles of the income distribution in our area. And when you say affordable in terms of the definition that you'll get from your governments of median income, county median income, and you're looking at $70,000, you can make up to $70,000 and still be considered affordable housing, or you can create housing for people up to $70,000 and it's still affordable housing, when the vast majority of the folks that we're working in solidarity with make half of that or less. And when you're thinking about the costs, everything that you understand this at Project Home as much as anyone. I know what Lexi talked about with building costs. I mean, nationally, we're seeing maintenance over the last 30 months. Building maintenance costs have gone up about 8.5%. Real wages have not kept pace, right? So, like, I can't raise the rent of all of our residents 8.5% to keep up with the costs. And so you put all that together, and there's a number of things where everything folks are saying. I think not going into the units for a year, the folks that are in this world and understand the idea of rehab and maintenance understand that what was once a loose knob becomes an entire set of cabinetry that needs to be replaced. And like, if I had to think about a moderating factor that can define wear and tear on a unit, it's people being in it, turns out. And then you throw in, with children, right, running around and being children, and you say, well, children have been in the units, people have been in the units for 18 months, or for the entire time that the lockdown was. I mean, the number one emergency maintenance request we would get before the pandemic was toilets. Now, that was never the sexiest part of the job before the pandemic. It's less sexy during the middle of a global pandemic. So, you're kind of working with all this. So I would just say that there's a lot of things in terms of what it takes to actually create, maintain, and sustain actual low-income housing for human beings, versus a lot of the rhetoric around it. There was a really great article, suggesting that there were neighborhood associations that really wanted affordable housing. I would go back to those neighborhood associations and say, well, when it comes down to conversations about zoning and height, how do you feel? And a lot of times again, the nuance of what it actually takes to create low-income housing are where a lot of people have points of demarcation. So I would say that a lot of those contradictions are really where we sit and simmer.
You make a great point, and I will follow up with just quick saying that we've noticed that too at Project Home. We have programs that are for low to moderate income residents, and that's the terms, right? So up to 80% of the county median income, but about 70% of the people that we're assisting through a number of these programs are actually at 50% or below, and a very high percentage at 30% or below of the county median. So these are, they put that marker up at the 80%, and that's fine, but the majority of the people that are getting the assistance really, really need it, and it is vital that they do that. Let's go to Robin here, and Robin, let's pose the question to you. So an issue, a challenge right now for Tenant Resource Center?
Yeah, I think across the board, we are all facing capacity issues, right, throughout the pandemic, but before the pandemic. And I think we forget, right, this housing crisis was here. It's exacerbated. Now it's a thing we talk about. And, a lot of folks that aren't in this work, are shocked that this was always happening here, particularly in Dane County, Milwaukee County. So, I think that's a piece that stands out, that when we see human capacity, not enough people, right? Not enough organizations for an emergency response, not enough organizations for response in regular times around housing work, not enough lumber, restricted funding, restricted zoning, laws that are impossible to enforce, right? We have these pieces where our hands are tied. And I think one of the incredible things about this group and the folks dedicated to, actual affordable housing justice work is how they manage to create teams that thrive in it and stay in it and do this day in and day out. and the cost that comes with that. But, thinking about some of the things that we've been able to do, the Tenant Resource Center went through a little bit of a rebuild in 2019 and, because of the pandemic, tripled, almost quadrupled in size so that we could meet the demand, whether it was the rental assistance program, and churning that out. But agreed, the folks who are most in need are our lowest extreme low income folks and who have the least ability and least capacity to get out and get the resources. And I think we see that time and time again in the court system, in access to housing and all those different pieces. So I would say that's, overwhelmingly across the board, it's capacity.
Brad, we'll go to you next in housing initiatives. Just an issue or challenge that you've really been put on your plate here recently.
Sure. Thanks, Jason. I think one of the biggest things that's always staring us in the face is just the lack of units to begin with. We draw from this priority list, and I checked in on the numbers in, I guess last month, it's February now. In early February, there were nearly 700 people on the priority list that needed housing here in Madison and Dane County. Of those, almost 300 were chronic. That is, they had been homeless for a year or longer. And a lot of those people have been homeless for many years. Almost 400 of them were seriously mentally ill. Just these people are out there and they're kind of in a holding pattern, whether they're using shelters, whether they're kind of going through the daytime resource center, whether they're in vulnerable populations hotels. There is literally nowhere for them to go. These are some of the most vulnerable people in our community. These are our target clientele that we are striving to house, that we are successfully housing in so many cases. But the number out there that would meet our entrance criteria is literally just as big as the number of people who are housing today. We do not have the units for them. There is almost no one who is actually making the units to house those people, the people who make so little or have no income, the people who have long-term mental health conditions, the people who have been homeless for a long time. There are many programs that strive to serve different brackets of Dane County median income, as we've been talking about. There are very, very few that are trying to build units and make them available to people who have so little. There are some, and there's definitely programs out there. But when I look at these numbers and I think about how those people are systematically screened out of being able to access housing, it seems like and that's why they've been homeless sometimes for years and years. I see it as one of the biggest chronic issues. We've got this pocket of people in our population that is incredibly hard to house, and very few people are trying to address that need.
Thank you, Brad. Olivia, going back to you. At this time, what's one of the big challenges or issues that the MACELT is working on?
I would echo a lot of what everyone has said. We definitely have capacity challenges, that our waiting list is long as well. And those income limits, we're always trying to reach the lowest income, but then subsidy is tied to reaching a higher income. And so we would love for the prices to be even lower, but that gets hard sometimes. And the sort of structural scary issue right now is the runaway housing market, the prices just going up so fast and the market being so hard to get into. That's putting more people in need and adding to our waiting list. And it's also making it harder for us to even add homes to the program because we have to compete with, this market where, you're supposed to buy it, things are on the market for like a day listed, and it becomes really hard. And then it brings up this question just in public discourse about why are we doing what we do and what are the benefits of homeownership and affordable homeownership and permanently affordable homeownership, which can limit what someone can get when they're selling their house, right? And their profit from the house, if you will, but it keeps it permanently affordable to help more people. There's this kind of discursive challenge we're always working through. And the thing is, on the conventional market, when a home's value goes up so fast as it has recently, that might help that one homeowner and maybe their neighbors if their neighbors' home prices are going up. But those real estate values going up so fast actually hurts the most marginalized people the most. Hurts renters whose rents start going up. It hurts the workers who can't afford a mortgage. Hurts future residents of the city who might not be able to live here at all. And we're seeing, in places like DC or Oakland, it's like people of color are getting pushed out of cities completely. And I don't want to see that happen in Madison. And that's why we do what we do. And we'd really love to be expanding what we can do as quickly as possible. And it's just really challenging to do that at the scale we want to.
Thank you, Olivia. Just wanted to turn things around a little bit now and get back to the point that Olivia just made, why we do what we do. And maybe I'll put this to each of you. There's some latitude here, a success story, a positive note, something that gave you fulfillment that helps you keep going every day. So tell us about one of your successes or a positive note. Alexis, let's go back to you.
Sure. I just want to shout out to all of you for all of the issues you're bringing up. All of them are really so relevant to all of our work, and especially the conversation I think Justice brought up and Olivia just alluded to is just this bigger conversation about what is affordable and where are people really at? Like when you say low income or living in poverty, what does that really mean? I just think if there was a higher level of discourse on that topic publicly, there just would be so much more understanding of where people are at and what they need to have the things that everybody needs to be successful and to do well in their lives. Bayview, one thing I'm extremely proud about at Bayview is that we did some really extensive resident engagement to get us to the point of what we planned for the new redevelopment. And so we took about 18 months to do pretty intense engagement. We engaged about 70% of our residents, all ages from kids to seniors. We spent 5 to 6 hours talking about just basements. I mean, that's the level of engagement we did because in Hmong culture, the basements are extremely important. And we have a high percentage of Hmong residents who live at Bayview. And those basements were used as cultural sites, as celebratory sites, as storage facilities. So losing them, which we have to do in the redevelopment because of cost and because of our water levels based on where we're located, we just needed to provide information to share with the residents why we can't do basements, but then also to understand what is the cultural significance of the basements. And once we had that information, how do we respond to it? And so with the resident engagement, it was always kind of not just like gathering information so that we knew what we needed to do, but gathering information so that we knew how best to respond in the planning, and then to share back with residents like, okay, you said this, we did this, did we get it right? And so we went through this really iterative process with the site planning and the architecture, the placement of the gardens, the placement of the buildings, the density, all of those issues. And we went through that iterative process multiple times to just make sure we are doing the best that we can. We can't necessarily get everything right, but at least we know exactly where we're at with what we're getting right, where we're getting close and where we're off, and how do we respond to that. And so I think resident voice and agency in planning is something that I'm extremely committed to and would like to see the city move toward a model of community development, of housing development that relies heavily on the voices of the people who are going to be most impacted by those decisions, and that they're truly centered in the process in a meaningful, thoughtful way, and running as much as we can get to them running the processes. And then the architects and the designers and the developers kind of taking a step back and learning and just listening, just like truly listening. So I think that was a success in our redevelopment. The way that the site, if you go on our website, you can see some of the images of the site plan and just, I'm looking at it now in front of me, but just the way that the buildings are placed, where the gardens are located. We have 7,000 square feet of space to grow food on the site, which never existed before. We pushed all the parking underground as much as possible. The play spaces are located in the heart of the community so that people aren't worrying that their kids are too close to busy roads because of our location near downtown Madison. And so many of those things went into the decisions, and I'm really proud of where we landed and what we're going to be building over the next 3 years. So that's a success of Bayview's. Thanks.
Thank you, Alexis. I knew this was going to happen because there's so much to talk about, and you're all so wonderful. We're going to run a little short on time. I'm going to be respectful of everybody's time, and so I'm just going to ask you, where do we go from here? How do we proceed? We've got about 6 minutes left, and we'll try to get to everybody. So, Erica, where do things go from here for you?
Wow. I think I would say, in the context of this Big Share Day, where we go is just a consistent push to ensure that our community's values are aligned with our actions and where we put our money. And that's the best thing about the Big Share, right? It gives all of us an opportunity to donate to places that put our values into action. And that's what we've got to keep on doing day in and day out, in as innovative a way as possible to respond to needs that change in this community. And I think we all share a commitment to doing that. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Erica. Heidi, any thoughts?
I just want to lift up that and what Robin said about funding restrictions and things like that. What's so great about the Big Share and the donations, whatever size that come in to legal action, is that it's not restricted like other funds, and it allows us kind of that maximum flexibility to really be responsive to what we're hearing from the community, the people that we're serving, and to have that really be a client-centered legal service. So thank you so much, everyone, and for this flexible funding opportunity.
Justice, how do we proceed?
I think in 30 seconds,
Yeah,
I think that's a metaphor for how we're doing with housing in general. But no, I would just echo what Heidi said. I think as far as it goes for today, I think really supporting all the organizations who are part of the Big Share, recognizing how cool the concept of community shares is, that brings us all together, and recognizing each other's strengths and keep coming back to the table.
Robin, do you have a quick success story or positive note?
Yeah, I mean, it's those pieces, right, of centering community partnerships, showing up, filling those gaps. Like I said, we were able to create this service through less restrictive funding for all folks to have access to free legal services, all tenants that are facing eviction. That centering of partnerships and being responsive and holding true to our missions, that's what the Big Share, I think, is about greatly, of really centering each other's amazing work.
Brad, how does housing initiatives going to benefit from the Big Share?
Well, the Big Share is a fantastic source of support for what we do. In thinking about success stories that you've been asking about, I'd say every single time that we move a client in, it's a fantastic success story, because I know that person was literally homeless for the past year or longer. And there's something transformative to knowing that person is now going to walk into an apartment that they can call home and that they're secure in starting like the very next day. It's pretty special.
And Olivia, how do you, what does Madison Area Community Land Trust hope to get out of the Big Share in today's event?
Well, I'm just excited to have been part of the programming also, and be able to speak up with all these great housing providers, and really proud of how we partner together also. We have a matching donor this time for up to $3,000. So we're excited to hopefully get people matched on our platform today.
That's fantastic. I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you for your time. Thank you for collaborating. I think hopefully that's one thing that also comes out of today, is that we do more in collaboration moving forward. Even if it's events that we're doing, let me know about it. I'm happy to help get the word out as I can. But I appreciate all the work all of you are doing. I'm humbled to talk to you today, learn more about your organizations. And thanks so much for your time. And go to the Big Share, bigshare.org. Donate to these incredible groups. Have a great day, everybody. Appreciate your time so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.